In today's Spotlight, tributes are pouring in following the death of Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny. Human rights groups are saying that hundreds of Russians were arrested over the weekend for impromptu memorials that have sprung up across the country. Meanwhile, Navalny's family says that Russia is holding his body for 14 days to be examined for chemicals, while morgue officials are allegedly refusing to let his elderly mother retrieve the body. Also, Navalny's wife today accusing Russian President Vladimir Putin of being involved in her husband's death and vowing to keep up his activism. Also today, President Biden with some choice words when asked if he would go as far as saying that the opposition leader's blood is on the hands of House Republicans. Take a listen.
I wouldn't use that term. They're making a big mistake not responding. Look, the way they're walking away from the threat of Russia, the way they're walking away from NATO, the way they're walking away from meeting our obligations is just shocking. I've been here a while. I've never seen anything like this.
Well, I want to bring back our panel here, Mike, Sarah, Julie, and LZ. So, Julie, world leaders have reacted and condemned Putin for the death of Navalny, but are these cries of condemnation enough to quell any kind of Russian aggression?
Well, they will be if Mike Johnson acts, and I can't believe that the entire world is being held by one House Speaker, but if he acts and actually funds Ukraine, it will show Vladimir Putin that he cannot do this with impunity. Right now, he thinks he can do this because nobody's going to hold him to account. It is not a shock to me that he murdered Navalny right at the start of the Munich conference to show the Western world that they have no control over what he does. He's completely out of control, both in Ukraine and here. You saw the Ukrainians ceding ground for the first time in Avdiivka for the first time in years. And so what that means is that the House Speaker is effectively sending a signal to the rest of the world that we will not stand by the very Western values, by the Pax Americana that has kept the Western world safe for the last 70 years. He has got to act.
Sarah, I would love to let you respond to that. What do you think? Do you think that Speaker Johnson is really the one holding this up here?
I think that, yes, he is, obviously, and Ukrainian aid would be very helpful to Ukraine to beat off Russian aggression. The reason why Russia's chosen now to move against Ukraine, I think, makes a lot of sense in the larger world view where America has pulled back. That's not one party or another, frankly. That's both parties saying that they want to focus on America. We've looked very internal. We're not focused on the world. We don't want to be the world's policeman. Well, here's what happens. Here's the cost. But in terms of specifically whether Navalny's death is due to that, no, because look, Putin was this was always going to end this way, tragically. Putin is a dictator. He's a thug. He kills his political opponents. That's not going to matter what Republicans think of him or not.
And we know that Navalny had said things like that to some degree, right? That he potentially knew that this is how it would end. And as LZ, his wife made a very public appearance since her husband's death, asking people to unite and help punish the Russian regime. What does the opposition movement against Putin and his government look like now?
Well, we're about to find out, really. We're going to find out if this was a movement based upon one singular personality or leader, or whether or not this is a movement based upon a larger idea. And we're also going to learn just how effective it was that Putin did, if in fact if he was behind the murder of Navalny. We're going to find out whether or not it was effective in terms of putting fear into people who may want to be part of the opposition. So I think we're still in the fact-finding mission in terms of the fallout internationally in terms of what happened. Domestically, obviously, it's about the House Speaker. But internationally, we're going to see what the Russian people really have to feel about this themselves.
Right, and let's, of course, keep in mind, all of us, that there's, two Americans that have been deemed wrongfully detained there in Russia, Evan Gershkovich and Paul Whelan as well. But, Mike, in your mind, pursuant to what Julie and Sarah both said, does his death escalate the war in Ukraine right now?
His death is to put the world on the reminder that once the investigations are conclusive that Putin was behind this assassination, what Putin is actually capable of. And when you think about it, this is why NATO and NATO nations and members, including the United States, is supporting Ukraine so vigorously in order to show Putin and Russia that they must be held to the laws of our global society, right? And that humanity must be part part of it, and human rights is a part of it, so that Russia does not advance even further if they were to take Ukraine into our other NATO member nations, to which the United States will then be pulled into a full-on ground offense where we actually will see troops on the ground. And so what we need to do is ensure that Ukraine has the aid that is possible in order to sustain this offense from Russia, in order to hold the line, in order for democracy to hold globally.
Absolutely. Mike, Sarah, Julie, and LZ, our thanks to all of you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.